Right to go, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, central and southeast Queensland is facing a very significant challenge, of course, from this weather system, and the southeast is now bearing the brunt. The system has actually picked up speed, clearing Gladstone overnight, heading through Bundaberg. And if you look at the weather radar, you can actually see quite dramatically how that is moving very much at a much more rapid pace into northern New South Wales. Of course, it has sadly left a trail of destruction behind it, very significant flooding. It's sad to say that the people of Bundaberg are now, this afternoon, preparing for worse flooding than in 2010-2011. Right now, we are seeing some evacuations in that city. I'll talk more about that in a moment. I have been up to Bundaberg and Bargara this morning with the local government minister, David Crisafulli, and local member Jack Dempsey, the Police Emergency Services Minister, of course, Stephen Bennett, the local state member, Paul Neville, federal member for Hinkler, and we have toured with Mayor Mal Foreman the waterfront area of Bargara, and also looked at some of the low-lying areas in Bundaberg. I was saddened to meet a couple, Andrew and Michelle, and go into their home, which had essentially been ripped apart, to see their completely crushed caravan, their car that had been completely damaged, the significant damage to the house and their personal effects. And my heart goes out to them, and we were able to give them a bit of advice and support as to what they needed to do next and what help they could expect from both their local disaster management group and the state government. The system is now predicted to move into northern New South Wales. We will be seeing heavy rainfalls along the coast and wind speeds of up to 130 kilometres an hour. Another issue of significance I just quickly make the point on is that the Australian Defence Force are on standby. But breaking information is that 2 helicopters have been tasked to assist the effort up in Bundaberg this afternoon. So let's now go to Gladstone and then move in detail from Gladstone south to Coolangatta. Firstly, dealing with Gladstone, Mayor Gail Sellers and her team have had the brunt of this over the last 24 to 36 hours. We have seen 20 houses inundated at Tannum Sands in that vicinity and 20 houses at Bunarabi. There have been a number of evacuation centres set up, including the local PCYC. Talking now to Awonga Dam, we're seeing very dramatic levels of water in that dam, 8.5 metres above the normal water level, discharge down that spillway. But also the Saddle Dam that we spoke about yesterday has been overtopped, and it is eroding as it is meant to, with water now going down that flow path as well. The dam at this stage is all holding up well. I want to announce that the Acting Premier and Treasurer Tim Nichols and the local government minister David Crisafulli will be heading to Gladstone shortly to see at first hand how the effort is going there and to provide any support that Mayor Gail Sellers needs. If I turn now in more detail to Bundaberg, as I said before, the flood levels are expected to easily exceed the 2010 levels. We're seeing evacuations in Bundaberg North and I believe Bundaberg East. Gingin and Childers are also isolated, and we expect overall at least 300 homes and 100 businesses to be inundated in Bundaberg. The government is in regular contact with Mal Foreman, the Mayor, and his team, and I dropped in at their local disaster management group meeting just to give them some ideas about the path ahead. Turning now to Gympie and Maryborough. Mayor Ron Dine at Gympie and his team are sadly well practised in dealing with floods, and I know they will rally, as they always have, to deal with the impacts, particularly in the downtown CBD area. There is a man missing near Gympie after being swept away near Wedgie Creek, and 2 others were rescued after being swept away at the same time, and the Bruce Highway is cut at Traveston Crossing. Turning to Maryborough, I've on a couple of occasions spoken to Mayor Gerard O'Connell, a new mayor, who is about to be tested, and his team about to be tested for the first time of this period since the last council election. We do expect a flood in Maryborough. Emergency services are searching for a young woman who reportedly drove into waters near Pacific Haven this morning, and we have grave fears for her safety. A tornado is also reported having touched down at Burham Heads, up to the west-northwest of Harvey Bay around 4 a.m. this morning. No major injuries have been reported. A number of the surrounding towns near Maryborough have been isolated. There have been houses inundated at Aldershot, Pacific Haven, Howard and Torbanlea up the Bruce Highway. Moving now to the Sunshine Coast, I also spoke to Mayor Jamieson around 24 hours ago and indicated that he had my full support, but that he and his team need to particularly be looking at what was going to be happening over the next few days. We have seen very strong winds at Mooloolaba. Kin is isolated up north-west of Noosa, and the current report is that there's 23,000 homes without power, although I expect that will rise. Turning now to Brisbane, I know Lord Mayor Graham Quirk has been active with community messages, and he has geared up his local disaster management group. We expect in the Greater Brisbane area very high rainfalls over the next 24 hours. We're seeing the system though then moving on by mid-Monday. The coastal areas around Moreton Bay and of course the impacts on the Brisbane River we've talked about. We will see high tides there that will cause potentially backing up of creeks, and also those low-lying areas down on the bayside will see inundation. And again I stress that there is a very great threat right across south-east Queensland from these local creeks. There are around 11,500 homes without power in Brisbane. If I just then quickly give you the overall Energex figure across the region, it is about 58,000 homes without power, but that number is continuing to go up every half hour or so when we get an update. Turning to Ipswich, we expect high rainfall over the next 24 hours, and Kilcoy and Esk have been isolated. Finally, the Gold Coast, Lockyer Valley, can expect heavier rainfall today and very strong winds, 130 kilometres an hour. And again, Mayor Tom Tate and his team are gearing up to deal with potential flooding on the Nerang River and low-lying areas of the Gold Coast. Just to wrap this up, for parents with kids who will be going back to school, a call will be made tomorrow, an announcement made about the opening of school, and I just ask parents to keep their ears and eyes open for that announcement. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, again, please heed the warnings, and I will go through them. Do not swim in flooded creeks or stormwater drains. Do not drive across flooded bridges or causeways. Stay away from fallen power lines. Please don't go down to the beach and enjoy the great surf conditions. It's not the time. The Surf Life Saving Association are absolutely adamant they don't want to risk their members' lives helping someone who's just on a bit of a lark. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now happy to take questions, but do the BOM just want to quickly add anything before I do?
Just to bring you up to date on the very latest information as far as the weather goes, the heaviest rain is currently falling just inland from the Sunshine Coast. Very heavy rainfalls of upwards of 200 millimetres since 9 a.m. this morning. But the system, as the Premier said, the system is moving south. There are still warnings out, severe weather warnings out. There will be very damaging winds, destructive winds this afternoon across the southeast. The Bureau is doing its final modelling across for the Bremer River and the Brisbane rivers, and we expect to be able to release some modelling figures later this afternoon to the local disaster management groups to work with about the potential for flooding across those rivers. We also are particularly concerned down in the southeast around the Gold Coast about heavy rain continuing, hundreds of millimetres down there over the next 24 hours. We do feel that the system slipping south, there is every chance that it will move down into New South Wales by tomorrow and that we should be on it in an easing trend. The good news as well is that we don't see any follow-up systems in the next week or so. So after this rain clears, we should be able to track these floodwaters down.
Thanks, Rob. Over to you, ladies and gentlemen.
Premier, will there be any changes to the water releases from the dams?
It's likely that SEQ Water, as they see the inflows going into the dams from quite significant rain in the catchment, will, in accordance with the flood or the dam manuals, actually increase those outflows. That is quite likely. If you recall, yesterday they were discharging less than 500 cubic metres a second. Overnight, I think they went up to just under 1,000 cubic metres a second.
Have you directed them to release water, or are you acting on advice from them?
Well, what's happened is that the government, as I said yesterday, has given them very clear advice about our position in relation to some of the parameters that they consider when making their decisions. Clearly, we don't have water supply problems right now. So we have said, look, we're not concerned now about water supply considerations. The other thing we said to them is that we have no issue, no problem at all with downstream road crossings, such as Colleges Crossing, being blocked by floodwaters. So we gave them that guidance. After that, it's up to them. They have statutory responsibilities that they fulfil. The only direction that has been given to them in any formal sense has been the Minister's designation gazettal of a lower full supply level at the 88% level.
The speed that the system is moving, is that a glimmer of hope in all this?
That's the way I'm seeing it, because when I flew up this morning to Bundaberg, it was completely socked in all the way up there. The whole way we were in cloud. There was lots of rain at Bargara when we were down on the waterfront there. But on the way home, things were clearing up, and that is good because it means we just hopefully see an end to the rain as soon as possible in the southeast Queensland area, and that would be great. I think we've had more than enough by now.
Do you have any further details on the 27-year-old who's missing from Midgie? Was it they drove into the water? Or?
I'm not sure. The Commissioner may have some information on that. Commissioner.
No, thank you, Premier. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. I understand that the vehicle with that person inside drove into the water. 2 people were rescued okay, but the 27-year-old is still missing and we're looking for him. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to even brief the Premier on this. It appears that just recent news of a body of an elderly male being recovered from the water at Burnett Heads, and that's as much information I have at this time.
Commissioner, have the police made any arrests in relation to sort of, poor flood behaviour?
Not that I'm aware of at this time.
Do you think people have been behaving well generally on flood?
Unfortunately, and I know the Premier stressed this yesterday and gave his support to the police, that if anyone does anything that endangers the lives, including of other members of the community or the emergency services, that we will take full action as your police department against those people. Certainly there have been people, even young people, doing silly things, and that includes going into flooded waters to have a swim, for instance. That's unacceptable to all of us.
Premier, you said earlier you've been in communications with the Prime Minister's office. Can you tell us what was discussed and if anything?
Oh, well, look, I guess the Prime Minister contacted me in the last 36 hours, made contact, and obviously offered her full support, the support of the federal government, and I greatly appreciate that. I understand that the Deputy Prime Minister and Treasurer and local member, Wayne Swan, will be coming to this emergency service complex shortly, and I hope to have a quick chat with him then. I've also basically communicated directly with the Prime Minister by text message overnight, letting her know how things were going. So, at this stage, I have no sort of issues or anything that I'm sure that they can't fulfil.
Commissioner, sorry, the elderly person, the body that was found, do you think you obviously think that's connected to the flooding?
Yes, I do, but I don't intend to give out any further detail because I'm not aware of his next of kin being advised at this stage.
There was a fisherman, Commissioner, who was the partner of the